The world burns. Hyboria is in flames.
Okay, Craig, so take us back to when you were appointed game director for Age of Conan. What was your initial reaction, and how did it feel to pick up that position after Gaute left?
Well, it was a great honor and a challenge. Obviously, I went from working on a game like Anarchy Online, which was a degree smaller, with a much smaller team, to taking over responsibility for a much larger team and a much higher profile game. A little bit scary. I think it wouldn't be normal if it wasn't it didn't invoke a little bit of fear, taking over something like that. But I think it was really an honor to get to work with such a talented group of people, and be given the responsibility for guiding, our flagship title and making sure that we take the game forward.
What was your first order of business?
There was two really most important right at the beginning, was to stabilize the client's performance and stability, which I think the technical guys did a really good job on, and getting rid of the memory leaks and making sure that the client ran stably, because at the end of the day, that was really the most important thing. The client had to be stable for people to be able to enjoy it and play through the game. And then alongside that, in terms of content and product, the most important that we focused on first was getting the PvP systems in that weren't ready for launch. So the PvP leveling, and then the consequence system that we added on top of it, and improving the siege and massive PvP features that we continue to do. Because I think that element of the game, people need a reason to PvP. And they need incentives, and they need goals and objectives. And I think adding that in was very important. And we did see immediately the effect that had on retention was a positive one. And then we also had to look at the areas of the content where the players felt there were gaps and that maybe there wasn't enough content as there should have been. And those are the areas that you've seen us add the content through. And moreover, I think we also decided to start to look at the content in a slightly different way and make sure that all the game content, specifically the dungeons and the higher end stuff, was more interesting and dynamic. We've been through and we've revamped almost all of the dungeons from launch. The dungeons that the game launched with have almost all been revamped and changed and made more interesting with more dynamic encounters. And we've kept that going through into the playfields that we've added, like Emir's Pass, and the new dungeon in Zibaluku that we added in the last major game update. I think that the gameplay in those areas is very interesting, very dynamic, very compelling to the player.
How do you see the next year of Age of Conan developing, and how the game will progress?
I think we'll keep adding new content, and we'll keep elaborating and expanding on some of the key features, I think, that drive community and make the game interesting for players both on an individual level and as a group. We've spent a lot of time designing and working on looking at things like the guild functionality and how we can improve that. We've already released a lot of updates and improvements to the PvP. So I think it's a constant cycle of working on the things that will give the most value back to the player. I keep coming back to it, and it's kind of the fun factor. If you make the game fun and compelling for the player, everything else kind of slots into place along the way.
If you had the chance to give a pitch to those, 700,000 players who actually bought the game, but aren't playing it anymore, what would you say to them?
I would say not to listen to me. I would say to listen to your friends. Listen to the people who are playing the game. Because I can sit here and I can talk to you. And I can tell you all day and wax lyrical about how wonderful the game is, and we've turned this around and we've fixed this and we've changed that. But I don't think it matters in the slightest what I say at the end of the day, because what matters, the proof is in the playing. I think it really matters to the players of the trusted opinion of their friends. Speak to the people who are playing the game and get their opinion. Has it improved? Are you having fun? Do you enjoy the time that you spend logged into the game? I think if you visit the official forums now, you can see a very different attitude towards the game. Yes, people still have issues; they always will. When you get hundreds of thousands people playing together, playing a game, there's always going to be differences of opinion of what's the most important and things like that. But I think overall, they'll be able to see the theme that people are happy with how the game is progressing and they are having fun in the game. I have all the biased reasons in the world to tell you the game's wonderful. But if you speak to your friend and he tells you, I'm having fun. that's 100 times better than hearing it from me.
What's the plans for expansions?
I'm afraid I'm not allowed to talk about the expansion.
There are plans.
There are plans. It's a little bit early to go into it. And I think for one major important reason, I think it was very important when we sat down late in the summer and the fall last year and decided to address these things and be honest about, okay, these are the issues that the game has and these are the areas we're going to focus on and this is what we're going to do about it. I don't think players really at that point, when they still have some significant issues with how the existing game is, they don't necessarily want to hear that you're already working on an expansion. And the majority of our resources have been on addressing the live game. Now, as time goes on, that shifts and we start to focus a little bit more on the expansion. But it's up to the marketing guys when they want to start talking about that. I'm not allowed.
All right. So thank you very much for your time. Pleasure speaking to you.